once again for tuning in to KSU Gold. This show is being brought to you by Kentucky State University's College of Agriculture, Communities, and the Environment. My name is Lindsay Creasy. I'm a media manager here at Kentucky State University, and I'm your host. And on this show, we give our viewers a peek of our faculty, our staff, and our students and their efforts to continue our golden legacy of achievement here at Kentucky State University. On today's show, we're going to hear from Mr. and Mrs. Kentucky State University, and we'll learn all about a new cash crop that's growing on Kentucky State University's farm. But first, I'll turn my attention to State Specialist Gil Finley as he gives us information and tips on seasonal changes.
As we talked before, we are in a season where severe weather is something we have to pay close attention to. Even right now, we're getting ready to have effects from hurricanes that are about to push a change in our climate, which is going to cause us to have tremendous outpour. This is a season of rain and downpours, and so severe weather comes with that. You have thunderstorms, lightning, you even have some hail that may come and damages particular properties. In addition to that, we have to really look out for flash flooding. That's going to be the big thing even for businesses as well as personal homes and the effects that brings. So we're in a season, because we're Kentucky, we get all 4 seasons. And because of that, one of the big things that we have right now in this season, we get ready to turn the season, we're going to have a drop off in temperature. And so we're looking out for the water damage that's about to happen is one of the big things that we want to be aware of.
Now, how do people prepare for the types of seasonal changes that are coming, like rainfall or water damage that can happen in homes?
One of the things they want to do is make sure they clean out their gutters, because if they don't clean out their gutters, then they're going to have some repair to their home, but also removing any type of obstruction, such as tree branches or anything that can clog water. I have water to pool up that will actually have flooding results. Those are just some basic things that they can do to be aware of right now.
Okay. Now, right here we have what you have as an emergency road kit. Mm-hmm. And so you do different types of emergency preparedness. Tell us a little bit about it and the types of programs that you offer, not only within the community, but also to students.
Okay. We have a couple of different ones. One we have is called YEP. It's a youth disaster preparedness, and what it does is to make them aware in crisis situations, putting them in a live situation where they know how to respond if it's a actual natural disaster or a man-made disaster. A man-made disaster could be something like a chemical spill, but a natural would be something like with the wind that's coming in, or some other type of crisis. Let's say a crisis could be if somebody's on opioid or the drug effect and they have to respond. But in this situation, we wanted to prepare people because the weather's going to change, and what to have in their cars. We have these particular workshops that we educate them on. And for instance, I'll kind of basically go through this kit just to give an idea of some things they should have in their car should an accident happen. So for instance, one of the main things, whether in any disaster, you're going to need light. And so to have an actual flashlight inside of a kit. Another thing, with the change of the moisture in the air, a lot of times the batteries are going to go down in people's particular vehicles. So a lot of times they're false starts. I don't know if you've ever tried to get in your car.
Yes. And
it would not start. But having this in can be very critical whether or not you stay on the side of the road or whether you keep going. Another thing that we actually give out, or it should be in any basic kit, is just some first aid, just some alcohol swabs, Band-Aids, and just generic different things that will aid a person in a particular situation, along with a glow-in-the-dark stick, because a lot of times on the side of the highway, a lot of people can't see. For instance, this is a tragic moment, but my 2 sisters were stopped on the side of the car, and they couldn't see, and a truck ran in the back of them. I'm very grateful they're both okay. But it did do a lot of damage. Both cars were totaled. They were just actually spared. But this can actually save people to know where you're located, because people can't see in the dark.
Now, do you put them on top of your car? Do you put them on the ground? Do you attach them to yourself?
You should actually kind of wave people off traffic, especially semis, letting them know that there's something coming up, moving. When they see this red glow or orange or green glow, it's a normal indication that there's something happening. So this is a very big item to have in a kit, along with the flashlight.
Now, is there a particular color that you should look for? Because I know it, like you said, yellow or green, or red. Is there a particular color that you should have specifically for your car?
Red seems to be the actual thing that indicates emergency. So in that situation, red. But if you don't have red, any major color will kind of cause attention to be able to cause a person to be aware or be alert so that someone notices that there's something happening. If you would see in a dark place and you see something going like this, of course it's going to draw your attention. So having something of that magnitude will cause a person to be aware and not to be able to just easily not see you and to do damage to the person. Another thing that we've had, because you may be dealing with battery acids, you may be dealing with gasoline, you definitely always want to have, if you can have these in the kit, these are very handy because the fact that it will protect your skin, as well as something to be able to siphon the gas out. So this comes in the kit. It's where you don't have to put your mouth on it, you just squeeze it and it actually draws the actual gas from one area to another, or if it's other fluids that need to be exchanged to it. So a lot of times, you know, people they don't have anything. We've seen reports where people have drawn and got gasoline in their mouths because they were trying to siphon the gas into something. Another thing that would maybe handy is an actual, because we're talking about rain season, the actual ponchos. It's nothing like being wet, and then if the temperature drops off, it can really cause the body to drop in temperature very quickly. So having an actual a poncho would keep the rain in the body dry will cause the heat to stay within the body and not to lose the heat, which normally is through the head and through the feet. But this is actually a great thing to have. These are just general things that are in the kit. And of course, one of the big things you want to do, if you get in it, you can't. Once you get it, if it's still daylight, is just to say, hey, I need some help. All these things are actually in a general kit, and when we actually have our workshop, along with some batteries for that batteries.
But that's the one thing, you know, you have a flashlight, but you may not have the batteries in the flashlight. It's always important to have batteries.
Right. Even in a basic home kit, when you get prepared for any kind of emergency, with the change of weather, we're ready to get into the winter season, you definitely want to have extra batteries around. Storms, even in your home, candles, batteries for your flashlight. You want to have a basic kit. You want to have some food on storage. You want to have safe drinking water. Those are some general things that you want to have for a situation where emergency might break out. And even a whistle, you just never know. You might be stuck, you might not be able to get to somebody can get to you because of a whistle. These are general things that we don't think about, but these are practical things that can help you in a time of distress.
Now you work with FEMA.
Yes.
What is FEMA and what role do they play in helping communities prepare for natural disaster?
FEMA is a design organization that actually helps in distress situations. Right now, FEMA is being prepared to go to the next hurricane area in Florida. But one of the things they're doing now is, because we've had so many disasters come up, because our climate is changing and there's more response and there's more need of an actual infrastructure. One of the things that FEMA will do is they actually come in and set up an actual infrastructure, but they're not in the situation to do long-term sustainability to a neighborhood or community. So one of the things they're doing now is working with grassroots organizations, going back to faith-based organizations and organizations as a whole, trying to get them to build a collaboration so when response is needed, it's going to be there. For instance, a lot of people don't know that the churches are the first one to respond in an actual emergency and also the last one to leave in a disastrous situation.
Now, and I was going to ask you that, why faith-based organizations and why FEMA targets them?
Because if you look at it, there's more organizations and faith-based organizations and churches throughout the United States than any other organization. So if you actually set up an infrastructure and you set up a satellite system with networks of types of organizations, faith-based organizations working together, you have a strong infrastructure and sustainability. So what they're doing now is going back, trying to emphasize building these collaborations, making sure that we're aware of how to operate with them. And that could be anything. You can have all different types of beliefs. And you need to know how to work with those communities and those societies, because you can actually offend someone if you don't know how to approach them. So that's one of the new things that they're focusing on, how to build these relationships.
Now, how can people get involved with FEMA, and also how can they contact you?
Well, FEMA is always looking for volunteers. They have volunteer trainings that are, and they have actual certifications that people can get. Even myself, I've been trained recently with them on dealing with faith-based organizations, but also with getting in touch with me. It's Gil Finley. It's my name, Gil.Finley at Kentucky State University, which is KYSU.edu. I'll be glad to give out any resources. General emergency prepared kits list to let them know when the next sessions are coming on the change of weather for workshops that we have. We have some great stuff coming up here in another month or two, which will give them type of kits and aid them with things they need for disasters or emergency situations.
All right, well, thank you so much for being on the show. When we come back, we'll meet Mr. and Mrs. Kentucky State University, and we'll put their school spirit to the test.
K, here we go. S, come on. U, keep it going. K, S, U, we rock this house. Woo, we rock this house. Woo, we rock this house. Woo, K, S, U.
That was awesome, guys.
I chose to attend Kentucky State University because I could begin studying with them while I was still working after college. Working at the aquaculture lab at Kentucky State University is a lot like the environment that you're going to encounter in an aquaculture research lab. This is a place where you come to become a scientist, to get the training, to meet the peers who are going to be your contemporaries throughout your career, and to really learn to take joy in your work as well as pride. And I'm grateful to have been a part of that here at Kentucky State University.
And we're back with Mr. and Mrs. Kentucky State University. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so
Glad
tell
to be
me-
here.
Thank you. Tell me a little bit about where you're from and what your majors are.
Well, I am from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am a business marketing major. So I started out as a business administration major, but then I changed it to marketing after I got a little bit of experience and a little bit of everything. So that's kind of interested me a little bit more.
I'm from Horse Cave, Kentucky, a small town in Kentucky known for Mammoth Cave, the biggest cave in the world. I'm a political science major and speech minor. I'm just really been big into politics. I have been since middle school, being in Kentucky Youth Assembly and things like that.
What made you all want to run for Mr. and Mrs. Kentucky State University?
Okay, so this is the exciting question. So I was Miss Freshman, and so from that moment when I got to walk around and witness what my queen did, it inspired me. And from that moment, I just was like, I have to do that. And I see myself doing that. And so every year I've been Miss, and now I hold the ultimate crown, as my court would say in one of our intros. But it's been really exciting, and I've been very determined for the whole journey here. And I'm happy to say that I've been successful, and I'm blessed to be here now as Miss KSU.
Wonderful. Trevor?
So in high school, one of my football coaches, he actually attended Kentucky State University, and he played on the football team as well. And one time, right before I graduated, he just randomly told me he could see me being Mr. KSU one day. And I didn't really know what it was. I come from like a smaller town. I didn't really know that much about HBCU and traditions and things like that. But coming to Kentucky State over the summer and meeting the guy who was becoming Mr. KSU, his name is Antoine Darasaw, and just seeing what he was doing, seeing how he always uplifted everyone's mood and things like that, I just walked up to him one day and told him I was going to be Mr. KSU, and it happened.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, prophesied that into existence.
Yep.
Now, you said that you'd been the Miss before. Every year, do you think that that prepared you to now hold the title as Queen?
Absolutely. Being on Royal Court, it's definitely important to understand that you're there to be the support system for your king and queen. I will say, even though it prepared me to do the walk and the wave and the smile, and know how to show myself in front of everyone and be able to converse with people, it is definitely different being on the other side as the queen, because there's so much more that you would never have seen being on the other end as a member of the Royal Court. So in that regard, it did prepare me. But I will say that it also prepared me for impromptu things, because this is all very new to me, but I'm enjoying it, and I will say that I think I'm handling it pretty well.
I would agree. You mentioned the wave and the smile. Give me your best queen wave and
okay.
smile. Is this it? Am I doing it? Can I do it too?
You can do it. It's really light with the elbow and the wrist, but you got it. You have a really nice smile.
Well, thank you, girlfriend. I appreciate it. You all hold several leadership capacities here on campus. Tell us a little bit about some of the leadership roles you have.
Well, initially, my first leadership role, coming to Kentucky State University, I was a part of the football team. And for the football team, each class, so freshmen, sophomore, juniors, they have a representative for the football team for the SIAC, which is the conference that we're a part of. And that was my first leadership role on campus. And then becoming a bread leader and also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, becoming the president of the chapter, and also being in pre-law society and things like that, being a member of Honors College. So working with all those things, I feel like has been leadership roles on campus, and I really enjoyed them. They've helped me become the person that I am today, and they're helping me still to this day to prepare to go out into the world to serve.
So yeah, I have a pretty long resume as well as he does. So as to start, like I said, I was Miss every year, so that put me in SGA positions, and I was able to work with my class officers on different programs for our class. And then I moved on to join the concert choir. I've been in choir since like my 5th grade year, so being in choir in college was definitely a great experience, and I enjoyed it. Then I did gospel ensemble. I am a member of Glambitious, which is an extension to the Professionals. So we do all the makeup and hair behind the scenes for the show. I also started the Kentucky State chapter of Curley in College. So I'm the president and / founder of that, which is really exciting. And I also played sports when I got here. I was a part of the women's volleyball team.
Wow, and you all are champions, is
Yes,
that right?
we are champions.
How does it feel when they first gave you your first championship ring?
Ooh, it was amazing. It was a bittersweet feeling for me, just because I first thought about when I was in high school, my goal was to get a championship. It didn't fall through, but I was really excited, of course, to be a freshman and to be a part of a team that's continued this legacy of winning. So once I got the ring, it was just kind of like, wow, like this is a great feeling. And it was definitely a motivator to continue that throughout the seasons that I would play later on.
Now, while you all are in office, it's your responsibility to establish a platform. Tell us a little bit about the platforms that you all established while you've been here.
Okay, so my platform is Raising the Bar. I personally believe Kentucky State to be the best university in the world. Of course, the number 1 HBCU.
I agree with that.
So I feel like anything that wants to be the best has to progress. You can never be left behind. You can always get better at the things that you are doing. So that was my ultimate goal for everything, for us to progress in reaching out to the community, for us to progress in our on-campus and student morale, for us to progress in reaching out to the world, so that one day the world can also see Kentucky State as the number 1 university.
So my platform was Reclaiming the Crown, and it was two-sided for me. The first side of it was very personal. I had to go through some personal struggles and trials, but what I got out of that was, with a lot of prayer and determination, you can come back out on top. And so with that, you are reclaiming your crown. And the other end of that is also similar to what Trevor's platform stands for, is our students getting the morale back and gaining pride back in KSU and what it means to be a thoroughbred.
Wonderful. Now, homecoming is coming up, and not only is homecoming coming up, but the Ebony Campus King and Queen competition is coming up as well. So tell people how they can vote for you all as King and Queen.
So
where they can go.
You guys can go to www.ebony.com/queen, and it will pull up the link for both the King and the Queens. So from there, you will go to, of course, Mr. KSU or Miss KSU, and you'll click our link, and it'll take you to our video as well as a picture of us, and it'll say vote, and you just go ahead and vote, and you can vote multiple times a day.
Now that'll get you a full spread, if you were to win, a full spread in Ebony magazine, not only promoting Kentucky State University, but promoting you all's platforms as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so you all get out and vote. Listen, when we come back, we're gonna hear from Dr. Sean Lucas as he teaches us all about the new cash crop that is growing on Kentucky State's farm. Stay tuned.
I chose to attend Kentucky State University because I could begin studying with them while I was still working after college. Working at the aquaculture lab at Kentucky State University is a lot like the environment that you're going to encounter in an aquaculture research lab. This is a place where you come to become a scientist, to get the training, to meet the peers who are going to be your contemporaries throughout your career, and to really learn to take joy in your work as well as pride. And I'm grateful to have been a part of that here at Kentucky State University.
We're back with Assistant Professor Dr. Sean Lucas. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you work with a lot of organic agriculture on Kentucky State University's farm. Mm-hmm. Tell us about some of the products that you work with, or organics that you work with.
Well, we have a couple of different lines of research that we're working with. One of our biggest focuses is looking at crop rotation systems that actually integrate animals into the rotation. And so what we're doing is we have a 5-year crop rotation where 2 years we're doing intensive organic grain production, either organic corn or organic soybeans. And then the other 3 years of the rotation, we're borrowing some of Dr. Andrews' goats and having them graze on the pasture. And the idea there is that they'll be doing what animals do, grazing, and then things coming out the other end. But that stuff's good for us because that's all fertility for our soil, right? So we're hoping to replenish the fertility from the little bit of damage that was done during the cropping phase and rebuild that fertility with the use of the animals. So it's a biodiverse landscape. Of course, we're also working with industrial hemp. It's a really hot topic, a lot of interest in industrial hemp here in Kentucky and in the nation now. So we're working with that crop as well.
Now, unlike most employees at Kentucky State University, you have the great outdoors as your office. Tell us what it's like every day on the farm.
Well, in truth, I spend more time in a cubicle than I care to think about. But I do get to get out to the farm once in a while, and it's nice. There is no normal day at the farm. And what this actually does give me a chance to do is plug my awesome staff who really are the boots on the ground in the organic program. You know, they are the folks that really are out there every day doing the day-to-day operations on the farm, monitoring the crops, making sure the deer aren't grazing the soybeans, putting up the fences around the soybeans if the deer are a problem, moving the goats from pasture to pasture when that needs done. And so there's a lot involved. There's definitely no normal day. We often are adjusting to the conditions that we see in the field. It's been a very wet year this year, and the moisture has, had some bad effects on some of our crops. We've got to deal with it. So, that's.
Now, a lot of people think that they are, consumers think that they're purchasing organic products when in fact they're not. What requirements have to be met in order for a product to be considered organic?
So there is a very detailed process and system involved in being certified organic. This is run by the USDA. It's a national program, the National Organic Program. It was instituted in 2002. If you are a farmer, for example, and you want to become certified organic, you have to work with a certifying agency that is accredited by the USDA. And they will send an inspector to your farm and verify that your production practices, all your inputs, all your management practices, your levels of biodiversity, all of that fits within the National Organic Program. And then they are the ones that determine whether you can call yourself a certified organic operation. It's a process. There's record keeping involved. The farmers have to keep 5 years worth of records. You cannot have applied any prohibited substances on your land for the past 3 years. And if you have applied that, then or applied prohibited substances, then you need to, the clock starts at the last application date. And that's one of the things that farmers really need to work around is when they last applied something that they can't use. But there is a very detailed system, and that's just the farm part I talked about. There's rules for processors. In other words, if you're taking a cow to slaughter, that facility that cow is slaughtered in has to be certified organic as well, or able to process for certified organic. And it's all in order to get the USDA organic logo on there, which I think ties into something you might ask me next. So.
Well, and is that what a lot of the regulations, is that one of the reasons why organic sections in grocery stores are oftentimes relatively small in comparison to the non-organic products?
Organic sections in grocery stores are actually growing. A few years back, you'd have a hard time walking into Kroger and having too many options, but now Kroger has a dedicated organic section. They actually have come to the last few Organic Association of Kentucky conferences to let the people there know that they are available as a market, and consumers are also, more aware of the fact that, grocery stores are more incorporating organic products. Walmart is now selling organic products. So there are options out there, and I think that it's growing on the shelves, and the market in general is growing.
Now, a lot of times consumers look at labels like locally grown or natural, and they confuse that with organic products. Are those considered organic products, and what types of labels should consumers really be looking for when they're going grocery shopping if they're looking to buy organic?
Right. So you really need to look for the USDA organic logo. Certified naturally grown are fine products, but they're not organic. They may use some of the same methodologies that producers that are certified organic will use, but they haven't gone through that certification process. And so they haven't been as rigorously documented and followed up upon as far as how they are complying with the set of standards that we hold organic growers to.
Now, you talked about hemp earlier, and earlier this year, the Organic Association of Kentucky collaborated with Kentucky State University to roll out a new pilot program for hemp. Tell us what took place on that day and on the farm.
The pilot program itself has actually been in place since 2014, so this is contingent upon the federal farm bill that came out in 2014 that defined what hemp production looked like, and it has to all run through the state governments. So for example, here in Kentucky, Kentucky Department of Agriculture, Doris Hamilton, who is the hemp program manager there, she does an awesome job at helping producers and researchers at university be permitted to grow hemp as long as we comply with the rules of the program. The biggest rule is that hemp has to be below 0.3% THC. THC is tetrahydrocannabinol, and that is the intoxicating compound in drug strains of cannabis. Hemp is cannabis sativa. It's pretty much the same plant as marijuana, but it's chemically different as far as this one component. The THC has to be below 0.3%, and so it's not intoxicating. As far as the hemp day that we had, we had 120 people here. We talked a lot. Doris Hamilton, who I mentioned earlier, talked a lot about what to do to get involved in hemp. We talked about the economics of hemp. We talked about agricultural production of hemp, and we got to show a lot of people around the KSU farm. So I really think it helped raise awareness of opportunities with this crop.
Well, thank you once again for being on the show. We really appreciate it. You all, thank you once again for tuning in to KSU Gold. You can check out KSU Gold every Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. on the Cable 10 television network.